Hi everyone. Alright, this is my second attempt at a video today. You all will not be seeing the first one because it was an utterly epic fail that no one would have watched, and I didn't want to read the snarky comments about how awful it was. So, I'm starting over. Let's try again. Alright, these are just some cheap glass Christmas ornaments that I picked up last year after Christmas when they were half off, so they were even cheaper. I just pulled the little hanger thing out of it for now and set it aside so that I could keep it out of the way in case I wanted to paint up here or anything. I know there are bukus of, sorry, my hands were sweaty, I had to swap gloves and these are sticking to me now. There are bukus of ornament painting videos out there, and most of those people are much better at it than I am. I struggle with this for some reason. I feel like I use just unreal amounts of ink on this, doing this. Sorry, I need my paper towel down here. Oh. Alright, so before you start painting on it, and you really want to wear gloves for this, partly to keep the alcohol and ink off your hands, but also because you don't want fingerprints, because you can't wash your fingerprints off. If you're leaving parts of it that are clear, you know, you're going to have fingerprints, because you do need to seal these after you ink them the same way you would a painting, with something like the Camar varnish and a UV protectant. And you don't want to seal your fingerprints on there, the oils and stuff off your fingers. So you want to clean it a little with some alcohol after you put some gloves on, so that when you're handling it, it's not as, you don't have to worry as much about fingerprints on it. Alright, so I have got crimson, as you can see. My little, looks like blood stains here on my paper. Or my pad. I'm not sure what I want to do. The first one, I got so frustrated. I'll show it to y'all. I ended up just taking a paintbrush and like painting the whole thing just solid, and it still is. So I don't know. I'll play around with it later maybe and do something with it. It kind of looks like Mars. That's what I've decided. So we'll see. Alright, so here we go. Oh, and by the way, this is pretty straightforward. There's not really any super secret thing to this, and you know, so if you all who don't like listening to me talk, don't want to hear it, then mute it, fast forward through it. You're really not going to miss anything. This is just, you know, me entertaining you all, or boring you, or however you want to look at it. And maybe some of you who have not done this before, you know, you might learn something, or you might not. I might learn something. Alright. So, this is the Tim Holtz Ranger Color Crimson. And I'm going to go give it a pretty good layer of the crimson around through there. As you can see right now, I'm just doing that one fairly wide band, because I want to have some clear on this still, because I want to be able to, you know, kind of see the lights from the tree shining through it as well. I'm all into sparkly ornaments, things that shine and shimmer, and so I want to be able to see the lights either reflecting off of something glittery and shiny, or, you know, shining through the ornaments. Alright, so I can't get to the brass here. Alright. Sorry, I'm going to end up having stuff where I don't want it. I'm trying to get to my brass. I had set it back there where I couldn't reach it good. Alright, so the red is still not dry, but that's fine because the brass is going to reactivate it anyway. I just wanted to kind of turn it until it stopped running quite so much. If you shake it like this using your fingertip, make sure you clean that off so you don't get it on your ornament. Alright, so I went up just a little bit above where my red was. And now I'm just going to do the same thing. Just going to kind of keep turning it, letting it swirl around through there. And then once it has a chance to kind of dry up just a little bit, I'll come and put a little bit more on. I just don't want to get it super drippy. Now, if you get spaces like that and you don't want it in there, if you just take something sharp like this while it's still wet, you can kind of, dab it up in there. Just don't stop turning it for too terribly long. Otherwise, you will end up with all of it settling on the bottom. Now you can see the brass kind of took over a lot of the crimson. So I may end up going back and putting a little bit more crimson on top of the brass to give a little more red showing through, because I still want more of the brass down in here. I'm still seeing. If I look through it, you all probably can't see it, but I can still see where it's settling in gobs down near the bottom. But I'm still gonna go ahead and put some more on. I'm gonna do it on this side this time. And while I'm just doing this, let me say how much I appreciate all of you all that do watch my videos. Especially the ones that hang all the way through, because I know some of them can get a little bit long. And or can be probably kind of hard to watch sometimes. But I really do appreciate it, because and it really, those of you who are watching them all the way through are probably going to be ahead of the game, because when you don't watch the whole video, you miss a lot. Because I just never know when things are going to cross my mind that, oh yeah, I needed to make sure that you all knew this. This is an important thing to know, to be able to do. You can see I covered up all my crimson there, but I'm going to go back and fix that shortly. But it's, you do miss things. And I will invariably get questions on every video that were actually answered during that video. Now, I know a lot of times I do get questions that are not answered in that video, and that's fine, ask away. But it does, you do miss out on a lot if you're just skimming through and hitting it here and there, because I just like to throw tips in whenever things cross my mind. I'm going to see if I can get this to dry just a touch. So you've got to be careful not to drop it too, because it's still so wet that if I drop it right now, I'm going to have a big smudgy spot on the side of it. Alright, so it's actually really pretty if you look through it. You can see the crimson through the other side. So now when I put this back on, it's going to reactivate the brass that I just put on there and help it to move around a little bit more. I got to get enough to make sure it doesn't just run under it, because that's what it's wanting to do now. But you can just do this. See, I'm just taking the back end of this, and it does not matter what you use. I get a lot of questions about what's this tool that I'm using. Yeah, just something that I picked up in the acrylic paint section at Hobby Lobby. You know, it doesn't matter what you use. I just saw it and thought, ooh, that would be really good for picking fuzz off of stuff or whatever I wanted to use it for. Or things like this. So I'm going to try to dry this a little because I don't want the crimson to reactivate the gold to the point where it runs back together right there. Now that I've got it separated out, I'm going to keep it separated. I hope. I hope this is not boring you all to death. This is not a real exciting video. There is no way to do wispy on an ornament. I've tried. Can't do it. You just can't. I mean, you can fill it in. I was trying to see if I had anything easy to show you, but I don't really have anything within reach. You can make it look really pretty, but crud. I'm going to end up with another fail here. But you can't do that total wispy fade out look like you can on a canvas or Yupo or something like that. It's just because of the shape. I mean, your ink's just going to run. You can't control where the ink goes enough to make it wispy on something like this. You're gonna, no matter what you do with these, with something in this kind of shape, I mean, you're gonna end up with a real sort of just organic look. I mean, you can't, well, it's not true. You can take a paintbrush and you can paint it on. A lot of people just paint with alcohol ink, sort of the same way that you would use watercolors. Just use the alcohol ink and alcohol. I just like the abstract. I'm really a lot more into abstract art than anything else. First of all, I cannot draw. I can paint. I, years ago, used to do quite a bit of oil painting, but kind of got out of that when our kids were small. Just didn't have time to do it because, you know, it was not, most of the time it wasn't something that I could just sit down and finish, you know, within an hour or two. And I just had too much going on, being a mom and all that. And so I kind of ended up packing up all my stuff and thinking, well, you know, I'll get it back out one of these days. And I did. And then we had some grandkids come along that we ended up starting over with that we are raising now, so ended up with the same issue. But this is something that I have really enjoyed, just playing with the alcohol inks, and it's something that doesn't take up as much time. You know, I can finish a painting, even a big one, that I don't do big ones very often, but I can finish a big one even within just a few hours if I want to. And plus, this is, the girls enjoy this too. I don't let them do it all that often. I don't like them breathing the fumes much, but you know, we've got a couple of fans that go on in here, and I let them come in and do some stuff, and they love it. They love to get in here and play with inks. Tickles them to death. Even my grandson, Brennan, when he comes out here to visit us, we're in the state of Washington, and he's in North Carolina. But when he comes out to visit us, he likes to do some painting as well. And it's always great to encourage kids to, use their creativity. I mean, you got to be careful with something like this because the alcohol inks, can be toxic. You don't want kids to be using it by themselves, ever, ever, ever. I will not let the girls, even at, they are now 10 and 11, and I won't let them use the inks without my supervision, just because I want to make sure that they stay healthy. But it is something that's fun for them to do on occasion. We've got respirators and masks and things that they can use, and gloves. I have small size gloves for the girls so that they don't get it on their skin. Something to keep in mind if you're a parent or a grandparent that wants to share this with your kids or grandkids. All right. I pretty much like that. Let me see if I can get this to dry a little. Because I don't want it to run. So, you could see by watching where I didn't have enough line with the red showing through, just how I kind of used that little tool, which doesn't matter what you use, does not have to be a tool. I guarantee you've got something laying around your house that would work. Let's see if you all can see that. So see, I think that that's actually pretty cool looking. And I'll still get some places where the lights are going to shine through. And hopefully just through the red parts, the light will shine through there. Looks kind of like a planet or something. So I'm going to set this aside. And I will let it dry. And I will let it dry for at least a couple of days, which is probably overkill. But better safe than sorry. And then once it's dry, I will use the same sealants that I use on a painting, which first I'll put a couple of layers of this Camar varnish on, and I use this first because this will seal the ink. Most spray-on varnishes will reactivate your ink, so you have to be very careful about what you use. If you live somewhere that you cannot get this Camar varnish, then you need to experiment with stuff before you seal something that you absolutely love, because I have seen far too many people who have messed up paintings because they sprayed it with something that reactivated their inks, and the inks just kind of, bled and shifted and moved. So, but this is what I use. Several light coats of this. On the ornaments, I'll probably do about 3 or 4 coats of this, just light coats. Because if you gob this on there, then it's going to run and just going to have a mess. And then after that, I'll use the Krylon UV Archival on top, just because it has more UV protection in it. Now this does have some UV protection in it, but I prefer to go ahead and do the UV Archival on top of it as well. And if you want them super glossy, now this does come in a gloss. This is semi-gloss. I bought it by accident. It does come in a gloss, or a lot of people like the, what's it called? I think it's by Rust-Oleum, triple gloss, something like that, on top of things, because it does give it a beautiful glossy shine. So, alright, real quickly, being as you're stuck here with me, for those of you who have stuck with me, I guess you're not stuck, you can change to a different video anytime, actually. Excuse me. I set this out just in case I hadn't run too terribly long. This is just a vase I got at the dollar store at Dollar Tree, for those of you in the U.S. Forgot to take the sticker off the bottom, but that's alright. I'm going to do a little bit on it real quickly, just to show you, you know, how you can do these. Although I think that we've done some of these before. I know one of my granddaughters, at least Zoe, made a video for everyone that was about painting a vase. She just did a small little like pencil holder type vase, some, you know, glass thing. I don't know what to call it. She just did a small one, and she did it with the dabbing the ink on. You can find that. It's in one of my playlists if you all want to go back and watch it. I just can't remember what it's called. I think that the playlist is called Alcohol Ink on Glass, and that might be the only video in it. I'm not entirely sure. I do some stuff on glass, but I just rarely videotape it because it's just boring for you all to watch. So, let me see. I'm trying to see what colors I've got sitting out here. I'm gonna try. Okay, these I still had sitting here from my last video. Can't remember what number it was now. 65 maybe, 64, 65. The round that I did, that was, I called it Inside Out, where I had the color on the outside going in. So that's what I have sitting out here, so I'm just going to use these. We got slate, salmon, boysenberry, wild plum, coral, and, oh wait, I didn't even have that out with it. That was out from another one, stream. Like, wait a minute. Although that would be really pretty with it too, probably. So let's play. Let's see what happens. Alright, now I wiped it down with alcohol good. Same reasoning. You don't want your fingerprints on it, because then you're stuck. You can't get them off good without risking messing up your paint. Now these colors are probably going to blend quite a bit. Let's see. So I'm going to start with Stream first, because it's one of the darker ones, and I don't know that I'm going to use all these colors. This is just what I had sitting out here. So I'm going to do this kind of the same way that I did the ornaments. Just going to run it around in a circle. Now there's so many different ways that you can do this. Isn't that cool? Look how it's spreading. You know, I did one that I actually made sort of swirl down. It was just a cylindrical kind of vase, and it was really cool. But I did not do a video on it. It was the first time I had ever done one like that. I wasn't sure how it was going to turn out, so. I'm hoping that doesn't. I need to set this down because I forgot to wash. You know, if you're switching colors, make sure you wash your stuff off before you get started with something else. I forgot to wash the end of that off. So I can dry that real quickly. Alright. Just put your little alcohol on there. Actually, I think my it's still wet, maybe. Just put your little alcohol on and clean it off. And you're good to go. Alright, now I have used alcohol on these before when it was getting too thick or too dark. Wanted to kind of lighten up the shade a little bit, but I'm going to leave that one a little bit dark, at least for now. Let's see. This is boysenberry, and hopefully I won't drown out all of the stream that's in there. I'm trying to keep it a little bit away from at least part of it. So you all can let me know. I'm sure some people will let me know regardless. But you all can let me know if you want to see more doing things on glass. Because like I said, I know that it is kind of boring. And so, you know, if this is just way too boring and you really don't care, and it's stuff that you can figure out on your own anyway, you know, you can let me know. We'll, you know, if there's enough interest, I'll do some more. If I get a lot of people saying, oh, please don't, I had to skip the whole video, then don't, then I won't. But I'll just wait and see if anybody's got any interest in it before I make a decision on that. This is salmon. Very, very light colored, as you can see. At least I hope you can see. I can see it. Not sure how well my phone is picking it up. Get it with the dryer a second. Speed things along just a little. I was debating on whether or not to put the coral on there, because coral can come out pretty orange looking sometimes. Depends on how kind of, you know, dense it is, how concentrated you've got it. But I think I'm going to put a little on. See. And this is Wild Plum, which is a little bit close to the color of the boysenberry, but just a touch pinker. Oops. Didn't mean to have it go all the way to the bottom of the vase, but that's alright. We'll just go with it. We'll just go with it. They run down a little bit, but I need a free hand. Alright. This is the stream again. I'm gonna go just around, oops, around and across the bottom. I was just going to go around the bottom with that, being as I ended up going all the way down anyway. I think you all might be able to see the wild plum and the stream. They blend together into a really pretty purple color. I'm going to lose all of that. I can already tell. All of the salmon. It was just too light to use on there. But I had it out, so I used it. Alright, let me see. Now I'm going to get my pinata brass. Add a little of that. I thought about using some silver in there, but I think I'll use the brass instead. Now I'm going to try and mostly get the brass in between the colors. I didn't leave enough space between some of them, and some of them they kind of ran together, but I want to kind of get it between the colors in the hopes that it doesn't completely eat up the color, you know, and hide all of it. So there, it's trying to run down into that one, so I'm just going to steer it back this way when I can. Sometimes you can and sometimes you can't, but it's alright. I know you all are probably not liking the look of this so far. And the reason I know that is because I don't like the look of this so far. But I'm going to do something else shortly. You'll see in just a minute. I'll keep you in suspense. Trying to make sure that was at least somewhat dry around through there. When you get down on these parts, it gets a little trickier to keep it from running, you know, either towards the bottom or towards the top, because there's just no good angle to do that at. See, it just gets really hard to keep it straight, or at least it does for me. I guess some people don't have any trouble with it, but I do. Make sure I got it all the way around there. Alright. I'm going to leave that at the top for now. Alright. Now, I'm just going to hit it with a little bit of alcohol. Just isopropyl alcohol. Because it will reactivate things and spread it out. Now, you got to be real careful when you're doing this, because I've ended up with a big hot mess before, because it has spread it out way more than what I wanted it to. I'm debating on doing that on the top. Let's see. So this will kind of help it spread and blend together a little bit, because you want it to be soft looking. Well, I want it to be soft looking. And you can kind of do whatever you want, but I want it to look a little more like a, you know, mountain sunrise or sunset. So I want it softened up and blended a little. I am a mountain girl. There's just nothing like the mountains anyway. I was born in Louisville, Kentucky, but when I was very small, my parents moved to western North Carolina, to the mountains, and so I was just a couple of years old when we moved there, so I don't ever remember living anywhere else, and I love it there. And then we moved here to southeastern Washington a couple of years ago, where I have to drive somewhere to see mountains now, so I really miss it. But we are probably moving back to North Carolina within the next year. So I'm looking forward to that. And especially because, announcement here, our daughter is pregnant with her second child. Our grandson Brennan is now 9, but our daughter and her husband are expecting in June, although we will unfortunately miss the being there for the birth. At least I will get to be there, I hope, to see quite a bit of this grandchild grow up as well. It stinks when you can't be with your grandkids. I know there's some of you who, are not lucky enough to live near where your grandkids do, and you know how hard and frustrating that can be at times. Are you all dying of boredom yet? See, this is why this is why I don't do videos on this, because it's just boring. I mean, it's not for me because I have things that I'm doing, but it's boring for you all, I know. But you can just sort of skim through if you want to watch any of it. And hit the highlights, because you're really not going to miss much on this if you don't watch every second of it. Now, I can't say the same for a lot of my painting, most of my painting videos. You're going to miss a lot if you skim through it, and I know that a lot of you watch all of the video. But a lot of you don't, and that's fine. I'm certainly not your boss. You can do what you want. But if you're struggling, let me recommend that you watch the whole video, because you really are going to miss stuff otherwise. I think I mentioned that just a little while ago, but it kind of bears repeating. Just trying to get that to dry a little there. I got a little too much in there running its way around. Once again, you can see I'm putting it not directly on the brass. I'm putting it on the ink part, except for places like that where I made a mess out of my brass. I got too much alcohol down there probably, but it's okay. You want to get it to where it, can get to the edge of your brass or your metallic, whatever you're using. Just because if you want to pick up some of that shimmer in there, sorry, I stopped turning for too long, then you need your alcohol to actually touch the brass a little bit so that it can pull it down into your ink. I'm getting quite a bit running right there that I didn't really mean to, but It's not the smooth color that I would like to see there. Let me put a little more on there and see what happens. Just part of it's just the angle just gets so tricky to work down there at the bottom with that angle. Alright, do a little, oh shoot, that was bad. That ran halfway up the thing. I was going to say, let me just do a little around the very bottom part of this and then I'll be done, and then I shot a stream of alcohol all the way up the side and around. Ugh. So if you don't want to do that, just make sure you keep it tilted to where your your ink's going to stay down towards the bottom. And you can use your little whatever you're using. Before I found this little thing, I'll show you what I was using. I think I showed you all in another video. This is an old makeup brush that I actually would use this end of, and I cut off the bristles, all except for just, like 4 or 5 little bristles in there, so that I could use the teeny little brush part there for anything that I needed that for, and that worked great. I still use it sometimes. And just remember to make sure that it's good and dry before you set it down. Otherwise, if you can have little sort of bubbles of ink, especially under the metallic, that will try to break loose when, if it builds up in one spot too much. So you don't want to set it down until you're done with that. Alright, well, I'm going to stop on this for now because this video has run on for too long already. If you want, if you're doing something like this, you can come on up all the way to the top edge. I am just going to leave this like it is for now anyway. But you can kind of see, gives you an idea. I'm not the best person at doing this, but at least you can kind of get an idea, and you can go to the $1 store, anywhere you can find inexpensive glass stuff, and you can just get some plain things and make it beautiful with your alcohol inks. So I hope some of this was informative. I hope it wasn't too terribly boring for you all. And I will be back before too long with another video that's just painting. Alright, y'all have a great day, and I'll see you soon. Bye.